Hey there, welcome to Mark in the Park, the podcast. I'm your host, Mark Milow, speaker, storyteller, and healthcare advocate. And this is the place for personal reflections, stories about mindset, hobbies, and purpose. And a reminder that life doesn't stop at a diagnosis. In fact, often the real journey begins after. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Mark in the Park podcast. And today, I am graced with the presence of a wonderful guest, Julie Obreiter. Now, Julie, you and I have known each other on social media for a while, and I am so excited to have you on as a guest because not only do you have interesting things to say, but you're also one of the most amazing people I've met, and I just can't wait to get into some dialogue today. So, Julie, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Well, I really love the fact that you have some things to say, but you're also a very well-spoken person, and this is a great opportunity to talk about a couple things. First of all, we'll kind of level set and set the stage. Now, you were diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's, and what, about 8 years ago or so?
Yeah, I just celebrated my 8-year anniversary. So, yeah, January 2018, I was 44, so I'm 52 now. And, just like everyone else that got diagnosed, so young, it's, you're kind of like in disbelief. So, yeah, for me, the first symptom was, and I just posted a video about this, was I was actually reaching in the morning to get my coffee mug, and it was just stiff, like my pec muscle and shoulder was really stiff, and it hurt, and it felt like that I had exercised too hard like the day before, and then that just never went away. It just persisted for a couple of weeks, and then I went to the doctor. Actually, I went to a naturopath because my insurance covered it, and the doctor, he could do like a kind of like a massage to try to loosen up the muscle, and the insurance would pay for it. So after a couple visits, he just said, there's something going on.
Mm.
There's something wrong with the brain. That's something's misfiring, and he referred me to go to my primary care physician, who ultimately led me to a neurologist. And that whole process was about 6 months between, I guess, that symptom and being diagnosed. And then, of course, like everyone else, hindsight, you start realizing that there were other symptoms there, but you just didn't know what they were.
Yeah, that's the time when the pieces start falling together. Like, then that's why this happened or that happened, and those kinds of things, right? That's
right.
Yeah. Now you mentioned, okay, so your arm, shoulder kind of locked up, and we tend to think of that as like rigidity or bradykinesia. You're either rigid or you're slow moving. What other symptoms did you encounter with your diagnosis?
The one that really scared me was I was in a Zumba class, doing the little shuffles and stuff, and I went to reach with my right arm to shuffle to the right, and my foot was frozen to the ground, like I just couldn't move. And then my arm, when I was reaching, it kind of like, I don't have a tremor, but it just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's just started shaking, and I remember just not knowing what was going on. I started crying. I left the class. And then when I went to the neurologist office, because I had an MRI, and I thought maybe I might have had a brain tumor. But the other thing that I didn't even notice was that my right arm didn't swing.
Mm.
So those were the main symptoms. But when I look back, I realized that, like I just said, that there was other symptoms. One of them was, my writing sometimes got really small.
Yep.
And then I play the piano. Like I played classical piano growing up, and every time I like for the previous 5 years when I'd go to play, my right hand, the keys felt really heavy. Like the left hand, I could play really good, but the right hand was just really slow. But I didn't know what that was. I just thought maybe I had carpal tunnel. So, yeah.
That's interesting because when I was diagnosed, the neurologist and I went back in time and asked me about specific things. Did this happen or did that happen? And the micro writing was something that happened with me 5 years prior to my diagnosis when I was in my 40s. And I don't play the piano, but I used to type a lot with my job, and my left hand could not keep up with my right hand. I was typing the way I normally had, but similar to like pushing the keys on a piano, pushing the keys on the keyboard, my hand was different now and it wouldn't keep up. And so I had a similar type of experience as far as that. But you just said something very interesting. You said, no, you don't have a tremor. Now you can't have Parkinson's disease and not have a tremor, right?
I am one of the 25% of people with Parkinson's that don't have a tremor. So the type of Parkinson's I have is dystonia dominant. So and then the secondary symptoms are rigidity and bradykinesia. I'd say bradykinesia would be number 2, and then rigidity would be 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't want to say there's times when I feel like I'm lucky that I don't have a tremor. But I don't know. I feel, I know some days I feel lucky that I don't have a tremor.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that because I know it's very difficult and hard to manage.
Well, and of course, my comment there was a little bit on the sarcastic side, because so many people associate Parkinson's with tremor, and rightly so, because so many people with Parkinson's have tremors. Like you said, about 80% of the people with Parkinson's have a tremor, or roughly. So to not have a tremor is different, but this is why it's so valuable, in telling everybody's story so that we get a bigger and a clearer picture of what Parkinson's is like for everybody. For you, the tremor wasn't involved, but the rigidity, the bradykinesia, which is the lack of the arm swing, those can be very frustrating, debilitating, or disturbing, especially if you can't move.
Yeah, my legs they feel like lead pipes. And then one of the early symptoms, even when I started carbidopa levodopa, was I would be driving my car and then somebody would wave to me and I would, from a car or on the sidewalk, and then I'd go to wave and there was just this long delay of trying to get my arm up to wave. So that's bradykinesia. It's just normal movements just take a lot more time to do.
Yes. So with the diagnosis, what kind of support did you receive?
Well, initially, none. My doctor basically, said, here's a prescription for carbidopa levodopa, and I couldn't pronounce it, so I would call it Cardi B.
Gotcha.
So I'd be like, I would take a dose of Cardi B, and then and that was it. And I lived in Colorado when I got diagnosed and got referred to the Parkinson's Association of the Rockies, but there was no young onset. And I actually went to a Michael J. Fox Foundation, like a Parkinson's Day, and I went, and I was probably diagnosed. I probably was 6 to 7 months into my diagnosis, and I remember sitting at a table, and it was almost like, well, this actually happened. Everyone at the table had Parkinson's, including myself, but they all said, "Oh, you don't look like you have Parkinson's," and everyone kind of made me feel like, why are you? So now flash forward 8 years, I feel, and it's kind of scary, that the community has grown for young onset. I just feel like so many more people are being diagnosed. And of course, the wonderful social media has really brought us all together. I mean, that's how we met. And you were actually one of the first, I would say, you were the person that influenced me to start doing my little walking videos. And gosh, that was like 3 years ago. And I think I called you out. I'm like, oh, I don't remember the video. It's something about Mark in the park. And I, like, in my mind, and you still are, you were like a Parkinson's like celebrity. And in the fact that we're friends and we're doing this, 3 years, 4 years later, just for me, the PD community is such a gift and so supportive. I wouldn't, Parkinson's has actually made me a better person, and it's brought me so many friends that I wouldn't have. Ooh, getting emotional.
Yes.
Wouldn't have if I didn't have Parkinson's.
Yes. I always count that as one of the positives of Parkinson's, the people that I've met since my diagnosis. And now I blush at the comment of me being a celebrity. Definitely wouldn't disagree with you. But to your point about social media, There is a really good community online, and I know you're involved. If you don't mind, give us your handles on social media.
It's the same for all platforms. It's Julie X YOPD. And the X is, like in fashion, when two designers or two brands have a collaboration, it's with an X. So it would be like, what brand am I thinking of? Like Bose headphones X Yeti cooler. So it's a collaboration. So
Right.
that's what X stands for. So you know, how I look at young onset Parkinson's, it's at least, after having 4 or 5 years, it's like I'm not going to work against it. I'm going to work with it.
Mm,
And so I actually changed my social handles to Julie XYOPD because I'm looking at it as a collaboration versus um, a hindrance.
right. That's an interesting concept. That really is. So, okay, that's it on social media. What about YouTube? Because you have a YouTube channel too, right?
Yeah, it's the same. It's
Okay.
Julie XYOPD, and the YouTube is uh, all focused on my journey with DBS.
Okay, there you go. It's good, nice segue. Because I did want to ask you about that. So, for our listeners who don't know, DBS is it stands for Deep Brain Stimulation, and that is something a help for people with Parkinson's as the symptoms progress. And it is a significant process because little probes are inserted into your brain, and that's it's brain surgery. And for those that remember my second episode with Joe Tosh, she did a series with a Boston Scientific called DBS and Me, and it's available out there on YouTube. Great episodes that kind of talk about deep brain stimulation. But Julie, you have had deep brain stimulation, and you've documented it so well on your social media and your YouTube. Can you help us understand what DBS is, or what it was for you, and how you came to the decision to actually go down that road? Because it's a big decision.
Yeah, it really is a big decision. For me, I just hit, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, I hit rock bottom. Um, actually, I've never really talked much about it, but um, I, I actually was on a clinical trial drug, and actually, I can't think of the name of it. I'll look it up. It starts with a T, and it actually just got approved for people. The FDA just approved it for whatever mass distribution, not mass distribution, but for it to be used for Parkinson's. But it's a agonist, and so maybe you can edit some of this.
It's okay.
So okay, let me start over. So for me, the journey started with um, um, I just had a really bad year with my Parkinson's. Like my dystonia had and my left foot had just gotten so severe and Botox resistant. My foot would cave in like this, and my
Mm,
toes would go straight up.
mm,
I had really bad dyskinesia that actually landed me in an emergency room in the middle of rural Wyoming. And I was driving across the country with my daughter. We were driving her car out to college, and the hospital treated me like I was a drug addict.
mm.
So that was horrible, horrible experience. So between doing a clinical trial drug that actually made me worse, I was actually ended up walking with a cane, and they actually ended up taking me off the drug because I wasn't sleeping for days. And it also got to a point where they were just stacking drugs. It was,
Mm.
I was taking carbidopa levodopa, um, and then I had the dyskinesia, so I was taking another drug for the dyskinesia, um, and then that drug gave me another side effect. So I just got
Yeah.
tired of taking drugs. It's like you just start stacking drugs,
Yes.
and I just hit to a point where I didn't want to do, where you start questioning if you actually want to live for, the next 30 years with this disease. So I just hit a rock bottom. And so I had a heart to heart with my NDS and just said, I want to explore deep brain stimulation surgery. So then that whole process was about 6 months. But what I find is, especially with the young onset group, it's not always suggested as an option. It's almost like the medical community sees DBS as a last resort, where it I wish I had done it like a year before.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what symptoms? Let me say it this way. I know deep brain stimulation does not help all symptoms. So, what symptoms did the DBS or deep brain stimulation surgery help alleviate for you?
For me, the dystonia on my left side, 100% gone. I haven't even had one instance of it. I was able to reduce my medication to a point that it's like 50% less medication that I'm taking. So I don't have the side effects from that I had before. It's helped a lot with rigidity and bradykinesia. It's not a cure. I still have to take my Ritari every 4 hours. So depending on how long I'm awake, sometimes I'll take 3 doses a day. Excuse me, sometimes I take 4. You still have to exercise, you still have to eat right, but my symptoms aren't managing me anymore. It's like I'm managing my symptoms. That's the best way I can explain it. I used to have about 90 minutes a day of on time. And where now it's like flipped. I mean, I couldn't even go to the grocery store because the meds would wear off and the dystonia would kick in and I wouldn't be able to walk. So for people that have Parkinson's, going from the dairy section to the produce section across the grocery store, that could feel like 2 or 3 football fields, you know?
Yes.
And then you have to decide, okay, I'll do that on my next visit because I can't make it. I can't make it to the register and back out to my car without like flipping out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of where I was at.
Well, and it's good news if you can reduce medication. That's always a good thing, And that was how many years ago was your deep brain stimulation surgery?
Like 20 months, so it'll be 2 years in March.
Okay, gotcha. And so it's been a positive experience for you, you would say overall?
For me, yeah, extremely positive. I feel like it gave me my life back, and I like talking about it. When I was actually going through the process of considering it, I mean, people have negative experiences, and you should take those experiences in consideration. But what I found was that there wasn't a lot of like positive experiences. And then her name is Deb. She's based in Australia, Debbie's Journey.
Yes.
She was one of the few brave ones that actually talked about her surgery. She talked about, she posted a picture of her shaved head with the scars. And I just happened to be on a Zoom call with her where she was telling her story. And I tell her to this day, I'm like, you had such a huge influence on my decision to have the surgery because you made it just seem so simple. I mean, it's not a simple surgery, but the way she portrayed her journey or shared her journey was very positive. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's just, I'm very honest. I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Well, this is a good segue to this week's version of Mark My Words, because this is something that's so important. Now, first of all, you mentioned Deb. I love Deb. She's fantastic. She's bubbly. She's encouraging. She's positive. And hearing her go through what she went through with her surgery, seeing the shaved pictures of her head, she was very supportive of me with my personal situation and my separation, stuff like that. Just a very supportive person. But when you go down the road of pursuing or thinking about deep brain stimulation, I want to encourage everybody to talk to people and get both sides of the story. There have been some good results, like your results, that have definitely helped you and give your life back, like you said. There's other people that have had not so good results with deep brain stimulation. And I'm not saying that to dissuade anybody or scare anybody away, but it is a process that it takes a toll on a person, and it's not simple. Like you said, Deb made it sound simple, but it's not a simple process.
Right.
And I just encourage anybody, and of course, this would be with any kind of big medical decision. And again, deep brain stimulation is brain surgery. So I consider that a significant medical situation. But then again, when somebody says to me, that's just a routine operation, I said, yeah, routine operation is something that's being performed on somebody else. You know what I mean? Because anything that's being performed on me, no matter what it is serious. But I encourage people to get the information. You can read the pamphlets, read the websites, but talk to people that have had the surgery and try and get a balanced viewpoint if you can. And people like Julie, like you just said, you don't mind talking about it. And Deb, other people, they like to share their experiences with deep brain stimulation, and you can hear the good and the bad and make that informed decision yourself. So that's my this week's edition of Mark My Words. I want people to make sure they take that away and focus on that, because that is truly, truly significant with that kind of a decision.
Correct. And I recommend for people to attend webinars for each manufacturer. There's three main there's manufacturers that have the devices that are approved in the U.S. One's Abbott, one Boston Scientific, and the other one is what I have, Medtronic. And I went to all three webinars and they all basically do the same thing, but they all have different features. It's just like comparing it to a car. It's like all the cars drive, they just have different features and bells and whistles. And what I also learned was that everyone there isn't like a standard of care for DBS. Like some surgeons do 3 surgeries, some do 2, and I did mine in 1 surgery, and I did mine fully asleep. So ask questions, go down the road that you think is best for you. I'm claustrophobic and I had a lot of anxiety. So I knew that I did not want to be awake for my surgery. So I sought out surgeons that specialized in asleep DBS.
Excellent advice. That is some great advice. Well, there's a couple other things I want to talk to you about too, if you don't mind. And thank you for that information on DBS. But first, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
I don't know if you heard in the news, there was a tightrope walker that was eaten by a jaguar. I don't know if you heard that news.
No.
Yeah, the jaguar was looking for a balanced diet. So, a balanced diet. So, yeah, whatever. Oh, come on. My drum sound effect lagged. Hold on. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So, okay. So now I've got another question for you. This is one that I've been asking some people. We're now in season 2 of the podcast, and I said throughout most of season 1, we're going to have this episode, but we never had it in season 1. So we're going to have it in season 2. We're going to do an episode on humor. Okay. So I have a question for you about humor. How does humor factor into your life as far as overcoming obstacles? Do you use humor to overcome obstacles? Is humor something that helps you get through the day or get you through tough times?
Yes. I love humor. I like to make people laugh. It might be a little bit of a coping mechanism. So I can be sarcastic. I don't know if people that are out there that follow me. It's more on Instagram. I always put funny things on my stories. And I have like a whole group. I have basically like 10 people, to be honest, that they look forward to my strange things that I post. But yeah, I use humor. It's, my personality. It's, I'm very lighthearted. I mean, I remember as they were wheeling me into my surgery for for my DBS, I was cracking a joke with a surgeon, and they're just like looking at me, like kind of like not shaking their head, but it's just like, Julie, you're going in for brain surgery. And I'm like, I think I said something like, give me the best margarita, as they're giving me like the thing to knock me out. And I don't know, like I like to make people laugh. I like funny movies, and it's just my personality.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. I like funny movies too, but the definition of funny is subjective, because some of the movies I find funny. Other people are like, that's the stupidest movie ever. But for me, stupid humor is where it's at. I'm just saying. So, yeah, it's got one of those things. And speaking of which, you're going to be at the World Parkinson's Congress here in Phoenix. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm excited. Yeah, I it's my first my WPC, so I'm excited, and I wish they'd open up the registrations because there are a few people with Parkinson's that didn't get a chance to register because they sold out.
Yeah. Well, quite a response. I was
Yeah.
talking to Eli last week or 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about an amazing response to this Congress. So great stuff. But yes, that'll be here in my well, not hometown, but the town where I'm currently living of Phoenix, Arizona. It'll be great to have you here and host. Maybe we can have some dinner while you're out here. I think it'd be
I
kind
would
of fun to
love to.
get some social media parkies together and go out to eat, and it'd be good, a lot of fun. So good stuff.
Phoenix doesn't know what they're in for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, there was talk from one of the Parky community about getting a Parkinson's party bus, including a dancing pole. And I'm like, okay, a dancing pole and disco lights. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit much for some people with Parkinson's, but hey, as long as it's wheelchair accessible, we got it, so no. But no, it should be a lot of fun. And the only thing I'm concerned about is the weather. It will be getting a little warm. So with that, I encourage people to make sure they bring water bottles to, refillable water bottles, be drinking water as much as you can so you don't dehydrate, that kind of stuff. And we're actually going to do some episodes leading up to that, talking specifically about the WPC to give some people some travel tips and some things to think about and places to go and all that stuff before the event. So good stuff.
Are you helping organize the pickleball?
I am not. I know the people that are, but I'm actually doing the Parkinson's Ready program. So myself and a physical therapist, Jamie Nesbitt, in fact, we're actually starting now through May. We're going to be going out and instructing the TSA agents, the convention center staff, hotel people, Uber and Lyft people, first responders about Parkinson's, what it's like, what to look for, some help that people with Parkinson's might need, some things not to say. We don't want people to immediately insist on helping because, we Parkies like to be self-sufficient. And, if you don't want help, then, so we're going to be talking about that. And it's a wonderful program, and I'm so glad to be a part of that. But that is going to be taking quite a bit of time here leading up to the World Parkinson's Congress. So, yes, it's going to keep me busy. But I'm honored to be a part of it. It's a great thing. So,
yeah.
So, okay, with that, okay, our time's getting a little short. So it's amazing again how time flies by with this format. So at this point, it is time for our segment, Get to the Chopper.
Get to the chopper!
So with Get to the Chopper, we're going to be extracted and taken home, but the helicopters are on their way. And we just want to lay down that what's that one thing you want people to take away from today's episode?
That DBS is an option. It's not a cure, but it shouldn't be a last resort. It's something that you should talk to your doctor, your MDS about. And there's a whole community out there that can answer questions for you.
Awesome.
And feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely. Okay. By the way, your social media handles will be in the show notes, and we'll have a link to your YouTube channel. So that'll be in the show notes for those that want to seek you out. My Get to the Chopper is I'm just going to say this. Community is so important with Parkinson's, and I have a tendency to stray away from community because I tend to be very self-sufficient. And one thing that bugs me about Parkinson's is that to be where I really should be, I need to be a little more connected. And that's not my nature. And so community is so important. And one of the wonderful things about this conversation, Julie, is that when I met you and you and I connected through social media, I felt like I had a friend that I had known my entire life really quickly. And I mean that, Julie, you are amazing. We have a lot of fun when we talk and just great stuff. And so I just encourage people to be part of a community, whether it's the online community or it's a support group or whatever. Make sure that you are part of a Parkinson's community that can help you, that can support you. And that can be there when, times will get tough at times. It just happens. And Julie's one of the people in my life that if I'm going through a tough time and I just need to put a smile on my face or I need some encouragement, I can call Julie and she'll be that person for me. And I just encourage those listening to think about this. And it doesn't have to be about Parkinson's either. You might be going through some other things, a financial disaster, a death of a spouse or a loved one. Having people around you that care about you, that can help you, is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So get plugged into community wherever you can. That's my takeaway from today's show. So, but Julie, thank you so much for being on today. I really, really appreciate it because again, you're knowledgeable, you're well spoken, you're very active in the Parkinson's community, but you're also just a wonderful person. So thank you so much for being on today.
So are you. I love you, Mark.
I love you too, Julie. I definitely do. Well, with that, thank you so much. And to my listeners, thank you guys so much for dialing in and listening. As always, I'm going to remind everybody, life is not a destination. Life is a journey. So guys, get out there and keep exploring. Please like and subscribe. Keep all the positive comments coming, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, and God bless.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on this edition of Mark in the Park, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps more people discover the show. For show notes, updates, and future episodes, or to connect, head over to markinthepark21.com. Got a guest idea or a topic suggestion? Drop me a line at markintheparkpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And to all my listeners, this is Mark Milow reminding you, life is as much about the journey as the destination. So enjoy the sights and sounds along the way. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep exploring.